What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's me, you know, the mouth of the South, Jeremy, one half of FusionHaa podcast. And past couple weekends ago, Chad and myself had the pleasure of going to San Japan, San Antonio. And Chad beat me there on a Friday, and he had time to kind of look at more of the real estate of what San Japan had to offer. And that Saturday, he actually brought me there to, well, no, he brought me upstairs, let me say that correctly, right? Upstairs to check out a treasure that San Japan had to offer. And it was called Bits to Bytes. And man, I went gaga over that place because it's a video game museum. This person has, I'm talking about from computers down to gaming consoles, from like stuff from the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, early 2000s, everything. I mean, this dude had everything. I'm surprised this man didn't even have the legendary brown box, which he told me a little bit about that. I mean, stuff like, of course, Atari. You know, I mean, this dude had Sega Game Gear. He even had like all the Oculus. He had both PlayStation VRs. He had pretty much every freaking thing. This guy even has the Atari Halo. I heard about this, but to see it is a different thing. And even play it. Chad played it. You'll see some of that stuff. But yeah, man, oh my God, I loved it. And you know, we seen it. Well, he showed me Saturday, Chad, that is. And man, look. You know, I'm just talking, I'm geeking out just talking about it, but like, we actually had the pleasure of recording everything that this gentleman had to offer. You'll see it right now. So, this is Bits to Bytes, the tour from FusionHaa podcast. Here it is.
We are FusionHaa.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so we're the Bits to Bytes Museum, Gaming Computer History Museum, 501c3. This is the full display. So we have over here is our computer section. It's not in any particular like chronological order or anything like that. We have sort of it by manufacturer kind of. So we have some of the more obscure over here with the Tomy tutor for kids to learn how to use the computer. It's got a little book of like how to program in BASIC and just sort of computer instructions. And then we have moving forward here, so the PC Engine, the Commodores, the Timex Sinclair, which was more popular in Europe than it was here. And then we get into our Ataris for the 8-bit computer era. Atari made a whole bunch of 8-bit computers. Just like this is an era where you want to get computers into the home as like business and home applications, things like that. But they also had to get games in there as well. So you gotta have your games. These are little adventure games. This is around the D&D era where everyone wanted to have stories to tell, right? Then you have your Apples over here. This is the era where Apple used to be affordable, and they managed to use that to become the de facto school computer. So with your Apple IIe and C's, most people would recognize those from their school days. And then we have some more obscure stuff over here. So this is a French computer. You have the Texas Instruments, and then I love this one here, which is the quote-unquote portable computer with the K Pro.
That price tag is so good.
Yeah.
How many people are carrying that thing?
There's a great TV show that's loosely based on the development of the compact portable computer called Halt and Catch Fire that I recommend everyone watch. So this is a new thing that we're doing this year, sort of a history of VR segment. So we have from the end with the Sega 3D glasses, the Virtual Boy, which everyone would recognize as the eye strain machine.
That's why I'm wearing glasses right now.
And then we have the Google Glass, which a lot of people don't remember because it's sort of a footnote there, but that's sort of the beginnings of our like smart glasses craze that we have now.
Yeah, I didn't know that they even. I remember them coming out, but I didn't know that they actually came out. But I was like, these came out.
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, they didn't last very long for consumers before they pivoted to just businesses, and I believe they finally canceled the Google Glass project altogether about 6 months ago, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it's surprisingly recently that they canceled that.
It is surprising. You figure now, like, you have the technology to potentially get it right.
Yeah, it's like most businesses nowadays are probably going more towards HoloLens, which is a more expensive product, but it's much more feature-rich. Then we have our, PlayStation VR over here, and PlayStation VR 2, and then my favorite is the Valve Index. I'm waiting for that Index 2 to come out.
Why do you like the Valve Index so much? Yeah, compared to the other ones.
Just PC games, a little bit more of that. The PSVR 2 was actually pretty fun though. The eye tracking that it's got, which I'm hoping all the stuff that they put in the VR 2 here makes it into the Index 2. But it's just like the Beat Saber, modded Beat Saber is a lot better than the unmodded Beat Saber. That's what led me to the original PSVR, so I could play Beat Saber. But you got to be able to load your own songs, man.
Yeah, that's why I got an Oculus. That's the main reason I got an Oculus, just so I can play Beat Saber.
That's right. Yeah.
It's the Beat Saber. It's a Beat Saber machine for me. Like,
Yeah. This is the newest thing that we have here in the museum, which is the Apple Vision Pro, which came out this year. To not great reception, but
that price tag, man.
Yeah,
price tag is wild.
Yeah, what Apple's really wanting to do here is create sort of mixed reality AR, which is why they are very careful not to say that this is a VR headset, but it is a VR headset. It's a screen and a camera in front of it, just like all the other ones, but they do the full pass-through the entire time, so they can pretend it's AR.
Have you used it in public?
No. I'm not one of those people who goes to Starbucks while wearing their Vision Pro. No.
Yeah, they gotta look a little bit like sleeker and cooler for you to wear it in public.
Yeah.
It looks great.
It's a neat device. So one of the things that it does better than pretty much all the other ones is the ability to spatially pin things.
Yeah.
So you can put something here and then move around and it will stay there as you. Yeah.
Oh shit.
Except you can't use your hands. You got to look at everything. It's all vision based, which is the problem. So they need to fix that. So we have our handheld section, and then a few other like little bits and bobs. So these are development kits for the GameCube and the PlayStation 2. So you would get your debug and dev software, and then a big old booklet of just sort of information about developing for the PlayStation 2 and whatnot. This is a third-party one, so you would get this in conjunction with an actual like test and dev kit from Sony.
Damn. Okay.
And I have a test Sony over there that we'll see for the PlayStation 2.
Okay.
So we have some handhelds here. This is our toy section, so a bunch of toys. Everyone remembers Mattel football, which I don't have, but we've got Mattel baseball, the American pastime. Blip here is one of my favorites. It's a mechanical Pong game, but it's got a little LED light, which is the only electrical component to it, and you wind this up.
Oh, wow.
And there's a little LED that bounces around.
What? That's nuts.
Yeah, and then you have to try and guess which number it's going to go to.
Oh, wow. 1977. That's wild.
Then we have our Game Boys and our DS's in sort of chronological order here. So we have our original Game Boy and the Pocket Color Advance and SP, ending with the Micro with its exchangeable faceplates, teeny tiny screen.
We're supposed to use that.
Well, it's even crazier because they released with this. They also released TV shows on advanced cartridges, so you could watch your little 10-minute episode of Fairly Odd Parents on a tiny screen. That's right.
Oh, there's a battery drainer.
Yeah. So we got the links in the Game Gear with the TV tuner. So you can watch 30 minutes of TV before you run out of battery.
That's about right. One episode in that.
Episode and maybe a couple seconds. That's it.
And then we have the promising but ultimately failure Ouya.
I remember hearing about that, man. So it was like this company that trying to make their own game consoles. They had a bunch of like, what do you call those? Like cell phone games, basically.
Yeah. It's basically it's just an Android box.
Yeah. Like in Canada or something like that, right?
I don't remember where they were made.
Like in Canada or something like that.
Yeah. The whole the whole premise of it was the promise that everything in the store would have a playable demo. Like nobody would get any special exceptions. Everyone would have to have a playable for free demo of the game. Yeah. And then they caved on that rule pretty much immediately when they wanted Final Fantasy on the store. And then ultimately they sold the company and canned the whole project. Like it had a lot of promise, and that's why people backed it, and it just didn't pan out.
Man, that's sad. Yeah, when is like a crowdfunded company?
Yeah, that was from Kickstarter. I think it was like for a while the most money of a Kickstarter.
Wow. Yeah.
If I remember correctly, it hit news. So
that's bad.
Yeah. So we have our Game & Watches here. I love these little things. You got a game and a watch all in one.
Yeah.
Right. So you can play. This is sort of the beginnings of Donkey Kong and your Mario here. So you'd play your little game, and then this one sat in my car for a while, and every time I drive to work, my car would be beeping, and I couldn't figure out why. So they've got a little alarm function on them.
That's pretty cool. So it's not just a Spike character in Smash Bros.
That's right.
It has a collection of things.
Yeah.
That's right. We have a little MS-DOS PDA here. From Atari, so you could do little calendars and day planning and a little calculator. Some slots on the side for peripherals, like a floppy drive.
My man said floppy drive. We just left some Mohicans.
Your Google's on that kid, right?
We got some. These are little Casio things, just like the Game & Watches. Casio made these little LCD game things. So you could play just like the little Game & Watches.
Oh, that's cool. I did not know they made stuff like that.
Then we have the Microvision, which is the first handheld with interchangeable games. That sort of, led to, this is what led to the Game Boys and all of that. So the entire face of the system is the game, and so this would pop off, and you would get another game, and then this is the actual unit.
Wow.
And then usually a little rotator, and you got some buttons or whatever.
It's come a long way.
Yeah.
Like you look at that and look at the Nintendo Switch.
Right.
Yeah.
You're lying, right?
This is very, a long way from that to the Nintendo Switch. We have some Bandai WonderSwan colors. These are Japanese exclusive. A lot of the games in here would have been like anime tie-in games. But this is the Final Fantasy. We have the 1 and 2 collector's editions of them.
Jeez, dude, you got a collection
That
for real.
is nice. I've never seen this before.
These are cool little systems. They've got controls on the left side and on the right side, so you could hold it horizontally or vertically, depending on the game. So like your Tetris, you'd go this way.
Wow. That's nuts.
We have a few more toys over here. This is another little handheld that was kind of weird. It's like a really bulky pyramid-shaped system.
Oh, wow.
That you would hold up. And then these are the game cartridges, which is like this top pyramid that goes on top. Yeah, this is an interesting one. This one of my favorites over here is the Vectrex. It's sort of an all-in-one system here. So you get the CRT, it's got a cartridge slot on the side. And what you would do is you put these little plastic overlays over the screen to give you sort of the game field.
Okay, I know you're talking about.
Yeah. I love all the things that have those overlays. The overlays are really cool. This is a vector graphic console, so you can see it's really crisp looking. It doesn't do text very well. Vector graphics and text don't really play nicely, but but it's a really cool little system. These little Coleco tabletop arcades.
I remember that one, that Pac-Man one. Remember that?
Yeah, these things are cool. I love these little things. And you just take them and play a little game on them. Yeah, Coleco released a lot of these, and then there were some other companies, like Nintendo tried to do a few, but Coleco had a ton of them. They were the big one. Then we get into the consoles that we have on free play here. So this is our Atari 2600, which we have Halo 2600 on, which is a
Halo guy.
Yes,
I played that yesterday.
Yeah.
I was just like, wow, like this is the thing that's happening. This is so cool.
Yeah, the head of programming for the original Halo CE 2600. And then Atari Age made some physical copies as a limited run. So you can actually play it on the Atari. It's a very challenging game.
Oh yeah, I will get it right.
We have our 5200 here, which is so the evolution of the Atari over here. This one was sort of a failure. It had very poor quality controllers that were just constantly failing.
Yeah.
But it was also not backwards compatible with the Atari, and everyone already sunk a ton of money in the 2600 with all of their games. So they didn't want to have to lose all of that with the new system. Nintendo section next, so we have our NES with the front load and the top load NES that America got.
Yeah, I've seen that one before.
This one was more popular in Europe, but we did get it later in America as well. It worked much more consistently than the front loader because the pins on the front loader had a tendency over time to get bent, and you had to fix it up. Whereas this one, you would just slot it into the top slot, and it worked, but it's mono. So you have your SNES here with our Super Metroid game on this, with that classic yellowing that they had a tendency to do.
Why? I don't know.
If I remember correctly, it's because of the flame retardant that they mix into the plastic. Material science has come a long way since then, but I believe that's what it was. So you can get this stuff called retro bright if you really want to bring it back to its original color. It's basically bleach, but you let it sit in there, and then UV from the sun or something will slowly fade it back to the original color. A lot of people think it's because the sunlight turns it yellow, but if you put it in a dark closet, it's still going to turn yellow. It's just time and those chemicals reacting. And then we have the Super Famicom, which didn't yellow, or at least mine didn't. And so I love the design of the Super Famicom. It's a nice smooth design compared to the American one. We have our Nintendo 64 with Paper Mario. It's a great little RPG. Started the whole Paper Mario franchise, or segment of the franchise. We have our Segas now with our Master System. This is probably one of the first quote-unquote demake style things that happened here, because Sonic the Hedgehog was originally released for the Sega Genesis.
Right. Back in '91.
Yeah, but a different team from the one that made the Genesis game wanted to release Sonic the Hedgehog for the Game Gear, which couldn't run the same quality as the Sega Genesis. So they made the Sonic the Hedgehog for the Game Gear, and at the same time we're like, well, why don't we do the Master System as well? So this is Sonic the Hedgehog, but with a different team's take on it. So it's slightly different, and it's actually a really good version of the game. Yeah, it's got some good challenges to it, and they did a really good job with this. So then we have Sonic and Knuckles, or Sonic 3 and Knuckles. You have to have the lock-in. I mean, this is the true way to play the game.
Yes, exactly. Because Sonic and Knuckles is really technically a DLC.
That's right. That was our first DLC here.
Yeah, kids.
And this is actually my first game console that I had here. Is a Sega Genesis with Sonic. Sonic 2 is what I started with. Yeah.
Me too.
That was my second gaming console.
Because I didn't even play Sonic. Yeah, I didn't play Sonic 1 when it first came out. I played Sonic 2. Then I'm like, I gotta find Sonic 1. Like, there's the one.
That's right. Yeah. We have here the outside of the U.S. it was called the Mega Drive. So we have the Mega Drive, which is, I think this is a Brazilian one, so it's got colorful buttons on it too.
Oh wow!
And then we have our what we got in America with the Sega Genesis.
Yep, remember that box? Oh yeah. You must have got the what do you call that? The bundle. When you buy the Sega, you get something too.
Yeah.
This
Yeah, you gotta get them.
I just get so excited looking at the back of those. Yeah. See all the games. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
They don't make the packaging like they used to. Now you buy your PS5, it's just a white box with a picture of a PS5 on it.
It's PS5.
Yeah, we got a Sega CD ad on here with the two styles.
I remember the one in the front. The one in the back, no, I didn't see that.
Yeah, remember too, for the original model Genesis, you had this big fat one, and then for the Model 2 Genesis, you had this side locking. Yeah.
The first one.
The nice thing about this was because it had improved audio quality.
Really?
Yeah, and so you could play your regular Genesis games on this and get improved audio on your regular Genesis games.
I think this is the first time I've ever seen a Sega like this CD, the Sega CD in person. I've never seen one before. I've played the games, but I've never seen one before.
Oh, you went to like Target, Land or something like that? Back in that was a thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a shame that all the game companies are going away.
What's going on here? This Sega CD-X?
Yeah, this is sort of like a Walkman. So it can play CDs. It's basically all of that in one system here. So you have your cartridges in the back, your CD drive here for your Sega CD games, but it can also play music CD, and you could carry it around. It's got a little display here. So you just somehow fit that in your what are you, Jinkos?
Yeah, gotta wear the Jinkos for those.
Right.
And you have your two controller ports.
The way it was mentioned.
Then we have our Saturns over here, get into more like solid CD-based game consoles. Everyone but Nintendo's starting to move over to CD.
Yeah. Dude with Nintendo.
That's right. That's right.
Lady decade.
Yeah. So you had your CD drive in here, and then you have a little ROM expansion pack back here where you could put memory.
What, 8 megabytes or something like that? Or something?
I think around this time it probably would have been kilobytes.
Something like that. Because I know like the Japanese, so I got X-Men Street Fighter. They came with one pack.
Yeah.
Like the graphics, the speed, stuff like that. And even the loading speed, it makes it look crisp. Even like I know a lot of Capcom games have that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I have the Japanese one in the house. Man, it's fucking good, man. I ain't gonna lie, it's freaking nice.
Yeah, the Japanese one back here.
Bang head. First, you got to have the Japanese one in the house. Yeah, you had to have one in the house.
I don't remember what color this one is.
And it's in the plastic. Y'all don't touch it, kids. Y'all don't touch just the plastic. That means it's fresh when you open it. Which would never happen.
It's got that new Sega smell. Yeah, and then we have the final Sega console here with the Dreamcast.
Too ahead of his time.
Yeah, it's a shame that this didn't do well because I would have loved to have seen Sega move into the modern era.
God, they would have man.
No one could make hardware like they did.
Yeah.
No, and they made a bunch of them. Think about it.
They were always ahead of their time. They just couldn't market worth shit.
Yeah.
Let's make the Ferrari of game systems and market it as a hot one.
Yeah, that's true. But they also had internal fighting too. It's like Americans just couldn't get along.
Yeah. Yeah, and this system actually runs Windows CE as well as its base system.
What is that? I'll look at that box. That's right at the box. Oh, okay.
This thing was built for online play out of the box.
Yeah, it had a web browser, and the company I work for used to have, so we had a bunch of support documentation in case people called in trying to get into their dial-up with Sega Dreamcast.
I still got mine at the house now, man.
Yeah.
There's people that are willing to mod out your old Dreamcast if you have a working game now.
Oh shit, I do. I still got 5 batteries. That's it.
Then we have our TurboGrafx over here. So there's the box for the base TurboGrafx 16. And the TurboGrafx was interesting because they use these little things called cue cards for the games. So you have this is the whole game right here. And you would just slot it in and that would just boot right up. And then they came out with this attachment for CD-based games for the Turbo CD. And then you would put your open button. Yeah. Yeah, so you would just put your CDs in there.
It's not going on.
Yeah, it's got a whole bunch of like locking screws and everything.
That is complex, man.
Like a transformer.
1989, man. Gee. 2 years old this came out.
Yeah, the TurboGrafx was cool. This is NEC. This is what I'm called PC Engine outside of the US. Yeah, and they had a whole line that we got TurboGrafx and NEC, and then they got PC Engine. It's a cool little system. I love the little hue cards. The Master System also supported card-based games as well. Yeah. This right here is a little special console. This is the Casio Loopy. It was only sold in Japan, and it was a system marketed towards girls. So it had a sticker printer on the side. Most of the games were like dress-up games or puzzle games.
Definitely have them all. Look at the box.
Yeah, so you put your sticker cassettes in here, and then they would print out the side, and there's a little cut button.
Oh wow!
And there were a few things you could do with this. There was one system that you could get a little cartridge here that you could plug your TV, like VHS or whatever. You could plug your TV into it, and then you could do little freeze frames and then decorate it with stickers and then print the stickers out the front.
Wow, that's freaking nuts.
Yeah.
For your kids, well, for your daughter's kids, and men and women.
Yeah, that didn't do very well.
Yeah. Well, never mind. It's not for them.
Probably now.
Yeah. This is still in that sort of era too, where it's like, well, games are for boys, and so which Nintendo, you can blame Nintendo for that, but yeah.
Which is pretty ironic now.
Yeah. So we have the Halo edition of the Xbox, the original Xbox. This is where Microsoft decided to join the gaming industry. They saw all that money and they wanted some of it. But this is what sort of started the online services craze. So the Xbox had the Xbox Live and multiplayer and all of that. So it's essentially just a Windows computer.
Yeah.
And so it was very easy for developers to get into to make games for, and you can put them all online and make that multiplayer money.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Halo really kicked the FPS genre into full gear. We had some FPSs before that. We were still sort of figuring out control schemes and things for that, but like this is really what became the definitive launching point off for like what is an FPS. And we have over here our Sony section with our PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2. That's right.
PlayStation.
That's right. We have the original PlayStation, or PSX, as we like to call it in America.
It's like it has the same problem that Super Nintendo has with the coloration on there.
Yeah. Yeah.
25, you know?
And then we have the PS1, which was a later release, the smaller, slimmer, cheaper version, which I think looks much better. Very nice and sleek. And then I have the screen add-on.
And you can put those PlayStation in your pocket too.
Yeah, put it in your Jinkos.
Look it up, kids.
Then we have the PS2 Slim, and then the original size PS2, but this is my test system. Yeah, so this is what the devs would get so that their game testers could test it. So it can play like burned ROMs. But because it doesn't have any DRM protection on it, it can't play movies like the original PS2 could.
Oh, okay.
Which we call this the Dreamcast till y'all look it up.
Yeah.
That's a damn DVD drive.
Yep.
Dream Sega, you should have put one in there, but it would have cost them a fortune.
Yeah, and then we've got the hard drive add-on in the back with the network adapter so that you could play Final Fantasy 11.
Oh wow.
The first online Final Fantasy.
I played SmackDown online. Look at that thing.
Oh no lie, dang.
It was absolutely.
And then we got another one of the older consoles here is our ColecoVision in the corner with its weird dial pad controls and then the big joystick, which looks like you would turn it, but it's just a joystick.
Oh, I thought. Oh wow.
Yeah. Yeah, and then they have an expansion bay in the front here, and they got into a lot of fights with Atari because of their Atari add-on, so you could play your Atari games with the ColecoVision. That's sort of what started a lot of lawsuits and copy protection disputes. And then we have our 2 display tables in the center. We're going to start with our first gen over here. So these are our first generation consoles, starting with the one that started the whole home video game console saga to begin with, is our Magnavox Odyssey. So this is the first home video game console that came out. It was more of a board game than a video game. Right. So you would have the system, which projected a couple of dots on the screen, and then you would put these little overlays onto your TV with static.
Wow, I would have done that. We can see it.
And so you can see like just a whole bunch of these. They came with instruction booklets and board game pieces, you know,
Crazy.
all kinds of stuff.
Oh, how times change.
Yeah. And so this is what started the whole home video game. People realized like, oh, people will buy this. People will spend money on this.
Right.
So this system inspired Nolan Bushnell and Atari to create Pong. And so they created the first Pong console, and then everyone else created a Pong console. And that led to the first video game crash because there were so many Pong consoles, nobody could sell enough to sustain a business. And stores didn't want to carry 100 variations of the same thing. And so like that, like you can see how many, this is just a tiny amount compared to what was actually like in stores, and you can see how crazy it is. There's so many of them.
All the same thing.
They are, yeah.
These are Pong?
All of these are Pong.
Pong variants. Wow.
Yeah, there's a Pong, highlight, basketball maybe.
Pong with a gun.
Yeah, that's right. There were a few of these light-gun variations which were really interesting. The Odyssey one here with its giant shotgun. Yeah, that's like just a giant shotgun.
Wow.
A surprising number of them came with guns. Just some Uzis or you know, just old style like pistols and stuff. And this is one of the more interesting ones, the Telstar Arcade, which is still effectively a Pong system. It did a similar thing that the original Magnavox Odyssey did with these interchangeable plugs here. This isn't a ROM cartridge like a proper game. It's just a jump board like the cartridges that go into this are. But it would change the functionality of the circuitry inside.
Oh, wow, okay. Smart.
And then you could do, yeah.
Yeah, of course, cadet.
Actually, I think that's plastic. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, I was wondering.
It feels like metal.
It looks like metal.
Yeah.
Sure.
Maybe. And so you have this little like racing thing. There was a light gun that went in here, and some paddle controllers over here. So this is an interesting one. But this is your first generation with your Pong and Pong likes. This is Bentley, the car company. Like everyone was getting into Pong. You got Bentley made a Pong console, Sears, Radio Shack. Yeah, like everyone had a Pong console.
Bentley, like the car company, Bentley?
Yeah, this is Bentley, the car company.
Father. We're looking at a Bentley. Holy shit.
And this one right here is supposed to look like a intercom system that you would see on like a CEO desk. This is Executive Toys was the company that made this.
That's why.
Yeah, that's what you're holding.
Where's Walker with my Spider-Man pictures?
Exactly. Then we have over here, so this is our second gen So this is where we start getting into cartridge-based systems with the Fairchild Channel F, which was the first system to have interchangeable games.
What's his name? Jerry Lawson helped make that.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, that's why I'm a big fan.
Yeah, I'm glad that he's now getting the recognition that he deserves too.
Yeah.
He, for a long time, was sort of an obscure name in history, but I mean, he's a black engineer in the game industry. He had this idea. They were in they were looking at a tech demo with some semiconductor company, and he saw those things, and he's like, we need to use those, and we need to make something with that. And this is what he made. He's supposed to look like an 8-track player. You know, so it would fit in your home entertainment system. This would sit next to your expensive hi-fi equipment. You know, and the games were these big, chunky things that looked just like 8-tracks, and they'd slide in there. They later made a cheaper version of the system too, and then there were some knockoffs. This is a French one.
Crazy, a French one.
Yeah.
Cassette. Let them know, right?
Then we have our televisions over here from Mattel. You have your Radio Shack knockoff.
Everybody's like, get that money.
I think this is the Sears Television. So you have, everyone's making knockoffs of everything around this era. We didn't really have a lot of protections around that yet.
Of course. It's a new thing. So
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, you know?
There's also this around sort of the computer craze, because like people don't want just buying something to play games on wasn't really a thing, because the adults weren't playing the games, and so the adults aren't going to spend this money on a kid so they can play games and rot their brain, right?
Right.
Plus you probably only had like one TV in the house or something. So
70s, yeah, the mid to late 70s, of course.
yeah, so it's like, oh no, it's not just a game system. Look, we got a computer module. You can do your accounting and whatever on it, right? So that's a lot of the systems here were either like educational focus. This one, you know, super math and spelling and whatever. And then, you know, maybe you can get some games to it too. Maybe if you're good, you know. So it's like either educational focus or we're a computer. You know, you can do something. It's not just for kids. You know, to try and get back into these, you know, houses that have limited space, limited TVs, right? This one here has these games that are sort of based on cassette tapes, but they're ROM cartridges too. But they're really interesting because they look just like little cassette tapes here. So they sit in the top, and they've got the little tabs and everything, but they're just ROM cards. The aesthetics back here were great. You got that lovely 80s or 70s aesthetic. Thank you.
You got a treasure.
Yeah, they don't make them like this anymore, man.
No, God, no.
Then we get into our third generation here. So we have our Nintendos. This is the Japanese Famicom, which is the equivalent to what we saw earlier with the NES. And again, we have a computer. You gotta have a computer. We have the original base Famicom with its 2 attached controllers. This is a microphone in one of them. If you remember in the original Legend of Zelda, there was a certain enemy that in the original version of the game you were supposed to yell at to kill it. So you would yell into the microphone to kill the enemy. Wow. We didn't get that in America. Our controllers didn't have microphones.
Never had the fun stuff in America, dude. Japan always had
It's definitely you don't want fighting enemies, but none of them clocked out.
And we have our Rob Robot, which we did get in America. And this is sort of what led to video games for a long time being a boys thing, is because after the video game crash, stores were less willing to put video games out on their shelves because, you know, they weren't doing well. They didn't want to go through that again. So Nintendo said, no. This isn't a video game. This is a toy. But in America, toy aisles were separated between boys' toys and girls' toys, and you couldn't be on both. You had to pick an aisle. And so Nintendo put it on the boys' toys. Yeah. And then we have the disc system, which is another one that we didn't get in America that was really cool. Sort of based off of floppies. So they had these hard plastic diskettes that you would put into the system to play. So a lot of the like games that we know and love, like the Zelda game started out as a disk system game. Some of them, I think Mario 3 was a disk system game, if I remember correctly. There are a few good disk system games on that, which we later got as just regular old cartridge games. The other thing that was really cool though is you could go to stores and get these blank discs that you would put into these big kiosks, and so they would have like a game of the week or whatever, and you would just exchange your game by putting it in the system, and it would rewrite the disc to whatever the game of the week was. And so you could just sort of like try out new demos or whatever.
Japan, only in Japan?
Yeah, they get all the good stuff.
And because they were disc-based, you could also save, right? So you had games that you could actually have saves on with this, whereas America, we had to wait until the little ROM chips got cheaper for saves. Here's your Atari 7800. So after the 5200 and the failure because everyone wanted to continue to play their catalog of Atari games, the 7800 could play your 2600 games, and they made sure everyone knew that in the marketing. It can play all of your 2600 games. They fixed the controllers, made them more reliable. The system's a little bit smaller and sleeker. Just overall a better entry into that. This is a really obscure system that Casio sold for I think a month in Japan, and nobody bought it. Yeah, these are hard to find, and they're almost impossible to find with the cables. So I have the system and the controllers, but no power line for it.
Oh man. One day,
Yeah.
can you find an alternate power source or not?
I could probably make one, which is what I'll probably have to do. Yeah.
Look at that. See it big.
You just got to match that Japanese power.
Darn.
This is another interesting one here, is the Action Max. So it was a VCR-based game system. So you would plug your VCR into this thing, and then you had the light gun. And then they had VHSs that were the games. Yeah, so it's basically point-based. So you would just watch the movie, right, and you would shoot at the things on the screen, and then you would get your point total and figure out if you won or not. It's very limited in what it could do and in gameplay, so it didn't really take off because it's like every single game is the same, just different videos. Yeah. This is one of my favorites as the sort of combination of entertainment and gaming comes in. So this is the Pioneer LaserActive. So this is a Laserdisc and DVD player, or cassette player, I think. Or not cassette, CD player. So Laserdisc and CD player. So you can watch your movies on it, but they had these little control packs here, which you would slide in. So this is the Sega CD and Sega Genesis. So you can play your Sega games on your LaserActive and your Sega CD games through the CD drive. They had one for the TurboGrafx, and then they had one that was just a karaoke machine. Oh! So you gotta have your karaoke if you're in Japan.
Of course. Well, yeah.
Or Korea.
Japanese love their karaoke.
Yeah.
That's cool.
This is a really cool machine.
Yeah.
And then the Laserdisc is a cool format too, man. Who wouldn't want a movie on a giant disc?
Like, like big pizza. There you go.
Yeah. This is the TurboDuo, which is the TurboGrafx 16 and the Turbo CD, just sort of melded together in a nice, easy form factor. We have some peripherals here. It's sort of an interesting era for peripherals. You may recognize the Power Glove from the famous TV, it was famously in the Wizard TV show.
Somebody remembers that show. Oh my God.
I'm calling it right now.
Not gonna lie, when I saw this yesterday, like, I got jealous. Oh, no, man. I really want it.
This is an early attempt at haptic feedback. So you would wear this backpack on your chest or your back, and it would plug into the audio line of your console, and basically like vibrate against you, like when you're getting shot or whatever. Yeah.
I wonder how that feels, like, with technology back then. I wonder how rough it really
Yeah, well, it's a hard plastic case too. So.
What do you do? Oh, I have fun. Chest all bruised up.
Then you have this in here is U-Force, which is like a trying to be a hands-free like thing. So it's got this like sensor grid, and you would move your hand in the space. They also had this little like flight stick adapter that you could put in there, and so you could do something like this, try and do some flight sim stuff. It was all right. It didn't work amazingly. Not a lot of games like bothered to take advantage of it. So it was really just like shoehorned into existing games where you're just like, oh, if I move my hand to this corner, it'll press A.
Yeah, I see why. Oh, the Jaguar.
Yeah, so this is our Atari Jaguar, which is the last home console that Atari made. And then they had the Jaguar CD attachment on top of it, which unfortunately is very difficult to find working. It's got a high failure rate. The Jaguar had some really good like arcade games though on it. Then we have the 3DO, which is interesting. They weren't trying to make this necessarily as a console for the 3DO. It was a platform that EA was trying to license to people. So it was like, oh, anyone can make a 3DO. You know, here's the spec. You just pay us a licensing fee, and then you go off and make your own 3DO, because they clearly didn't learn from the failure of everyone making a Pong console. But they thought that they would make their money back off of licensing for games and things like that. It's like, but in the end, I think only like 3 or 4 3DOs were made. It didn't do super well. But as a CD-based system, it had a lot of like FMV content and things like that, full motion video. You know, they look all right.
It's like a waffle maker.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah, this was when Electronic Arts was actually like an artistic company instead of Madden. Like that's the whole reason that they have the name, the Electronic Arts, right? Because there was a bunch of game developers and artists and that who were tired of not being credited for their games, because this is also in an era where you know, there were no game credits, there was no recognition. This is just the game, and this is the producer, and then that's it. Which is why famously one of the old Atari games, Adventure, had one of the like first Easter eggs was it was like, I want my name in this game, and so you can find the developer's name in it. Then we have our GameCube with the Game Boy player, so you can play your Game Boy.
I know that was a thing.
Yeah, you can play them on a nice big screen with custom frames around it.
OG, like original Game Boy?
It'll play, I think, all the way up to Advanced, I think.
Oh, wow.
If I remember correctly.
I didn't know that.
Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance, yeah.
Wow. So GameCube is such a great system. That's an added bonus.
Yeah, and you had to have a CD, so you put the CD in here and then the Game Boy player down here, and then you could use your link cables, you could do whatever you want with it.
So advanced.
Yeah. It's the best way to play a Game Boy game, really.
Guys, right? Yes.
Then we have, this is an arcade cabinet, so this is a Sega Naomi platform.
I love you. I love you.
It's used in the same, basically the same innards as the Dreamcast.
Yes, I know. That's why I get to play more of a Scalco.
That's right.
That's right.
That's why the Dreamcast had so many great arcade ports on it.
Yeah.
Crazy Taxi and all that, just because it's the same platform that's running it. So if you're an arcade store company or whatever, you would get a bunch of these, and then you would buy your little cartridges and get whatever shell you need for it. So this would have like a steering wheel base or whatever. Later they released one called the GD-ROM or the GD drive, which you would put on top of here, and then that would play CD-based arcade games and get a lot cheaper. And then the last thing we have here is our PlayStation X, Sony PSX, which again is just like the LaserActives, that sort of melding of entertainment and games, try and get more people to, you know, get a game system into their house, like, oh, it's a game system, but it's also a really good DVD player. It does DVR. It'll do recording. It's got a hard drive in it. Network adapter as well. Yeah, and this is Japanese exclusive, but it's got a really nice look to it. It's got a clean white polish with like a translucent faceplate on it, and you know, it's very, very clean aesthetic, so it would fit right into your entertainment system. But that's the whole collection. As I said, we're a 501c3 nonprofit. We're the Bits to Bytes Museum. We're hoping to bring this out to more events. This is the main event that we do. But
yeah, man, you'll definitely get there, man. This is amazing. Like, every gamer needs to see it. Like, if you are a gamer, you have to see this. You got to know where everything came from, man. We didn't just start with the PS5, man. We didn't just start there.
No.
Man, thank you for letting us do this. Thank you for doing this for me.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's why we're an education-based organization. So, like, we love to have people come out here, ask questions, learn, and like you said, you need to know where you came from so you can know where you can go, right?
Yeah, exactly. Ooh, bars.
Gems. Drop some gems, sir. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, man. You got like an Instagram or anything like that?
No, we're still setting up our social media and stuff. So we have the website will be at bitstobytesmuseum.org.
Okay. Write that down.
Yeah. I'm going to set that up after the con.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, you're a little busy now, right?
Yeah.
And if you do, we done right here pretty much, man.
Okay.
Peace with that. Thank you.